ready.
Yeah, we're not.
Yep. I'll take it.
Hello, Mayor Pro Tem.
What's up,
How are you?
Good. Say first day back to first. They should have let us first day back to work because I could have
Did I tell
emailed
you?
her email.
So when we left, it was 85 and sunny, and
I
when
said
we
I would
landed, it
too,
was
you said
snowing
email, you
and
did.
17 degrees.
Well, it was when I came back from Jamaica.
Was it really?
I left there and it took like
because
81
if you look
degrees
at the
down
map
here
now,
and
it
it's
shows
cold and you had to have a coat on. I'm getting off the airplane. Coat back down.
Yeah.
Danielle was
saying,
making
now,
fun of me
wait a
because on the way back, I wore
Then when I
jeans
looked at
and
the
I had
time,
my
320
fleece with me.
327,
She's
hey,
wearing like
that's
shorts, and I'm
another
like, as soon as we landed, she's like, she's like, give me my bag. I'm going to the bathroom.
Because I was just looking on the
Well,
map.
you see that in the airports all the time. They hop off those planes and it's no knee deep and they got on shorts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just forget where you're going. You just forgot where they were going. Try to remember where they went. Well, since we do have a quorum, I will go ahead and call this study session to order at 6:31 PM. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City Clerk Domingo, if you'll take roll call for us, please.
Councilmember Williams, Reed,
Here.
Jackson,
Here.
Lawler, Lanu,
Here.
and Mayor Snyder.
Here. So for our study session this evening, we have a discussion on updating the council rules of procedure. We do have the 2018 council rules attached. So I'm not sure who wanted to take the lead on this discussion.
Thank you, Mayor Snyder. I suggested this, and I've spoken with Attorney Harkness about a few different things, just based on the learning that we're getting over the last few months to prevent future situations from happening. So Attorney Harkness, would you be willing to share your take on our discussion?
Sure. And if I'm missing anything, please feel free to jump in. So, one of the things that I discussed with Councilwoman Lanu was how information is handled when it's obtained in individual roles as council members. And so one of the things that we discussed was possibly putting in language that would read as follows. And it basically would say, information obtained as in your role as a council person will not be disseminated to any non-city third party prior to that information being disclosed in a council packet or at a council meeting or at a public hearing unless it's somehow otherwise permitted by law. So that information is basically going public to everyone at the same time as opposed to third parties somehow getting information in advance and it being disseminated further. So that was number one. And then another one was, we had discussed, there was a question, I understand, at the meeting that I was not here for, about whether or not written materials are submitted by members of the public, how those are to be considered and whether those could be read or whether they should just be submitted. You know, what I'll say is every community is a little bit different in how they handle these, and I think Albion has some options, but one thing I suggested to Councilwoman Lanu is, by way of example, one of my other municipalities, Meridian Township, how they handle communications from the public is any communication that is emailed to a council person or the mayor or the city manager is basically just put in the packet. And they say, you know, if it's somebody wants to submit a public comment, I'm against the rezoning of this area of the city. Put it in the packet. Everybody on council is aware of the communication. Everybody in the public's aware of the communication. It's in there. It's there for people to read. So really, there's no reason to, I guess, highlight it unless there is. One of the things I discussed with Councilwoman Lanu is there's realistically the council rules don't really address written communications from the public other than that they should be distributed to the council for consideration, which is fine. Our council rules of procedure provide that basically when they're silent on something, you fall back to Robert's rules. The only problem with Robert's rules is a lot of municipalities use them as kind of their fail-safe, but unfortunately they're not 100% tailored to public entities. They're kind of almost, when you read them, they're almost tailored to business entities. But what they do address the submission of written materials and the reading of written materials in the context of council debate on those issues. Now, again, it's my understanding that this was as part of public comment, but as it relates to council debate, they basically say something, if something's presented in writing, it shouldn't be read if somebody on council objects to it, unless the remainder of council says it's okay to read it. So, you know, one thing you may want to do is, if that's the direction that council wants to go, is maybe just tweak our rules to say, if something's handed out, it'll be handed out, unless, and it won't be read unless, if there's an objection, and will only be read if the rest of the council wants to have it read. You know, and conversely, you could do the opposite. You could just say, you know, everything comes in, or just put it in the packet. I think that's everything we.
Yeah, so it's interesting, as you were kind of talking through those options, and from our conversation, my understanding is that typically written, and in the way the rules read currently, written communication would never be verbally stated. If someone isn't able to come and provide their public comment, their written communication is simply included for all of us. And so I think that there's a few different ways it could be worded. The fact that typically it would never be spoken, I think kind of takes care of all of that. So I guess seeing it in writing before all of us, we can decide what makes the most sense based on the situation that happened.
I have a question. So if we do receive a written communication, then would we include that in the minutes so that it is available for the public? Similar, just as what public comment is, it's spoken in public, it's recorded, it's shared with the entire community. I guess, how would we handle?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm just using Meridian Township as an example. If you open up one of their packets, what you'll see, I mean, it's actually kind of interesting, and it may be overkill, but it's something that they've done for a while, and it seems to work for them. The first 50 to 100 pages of their packet is, I don't want to say not necessarily agenda items, but they'll have all the communications that they've received since their prior meeting from the public, whether it's an agenda item or not, and just so that everybody has it and everybody's aware of it. Obviously, they tend to be, you know, the general theme is if there's an agenda item coming up, Like I said, if there's a rezoning thing, you'll see many, many public comments about, I'm opposed to this rezoning for this reason, and, you know, this is Joe Blow living at 123 Superior Street. But they just include it all, and then all members of council have it, they can all read it. All members of the public can read it ahead of the meeting. Obviously, there are narrow exceptions to that, like obviously if there's something contained that shouldn't be made public, you know, if there's some kind of legal basis. But that's how they handle it. And that's just one option that the council has available to it.
Just quickly in response to that, when Attorney Harkness and I spoke, because this was a comment that was published in the minutes, that included personal attacks, which also go against our public decorum. You confirm this, please, Attorney Harkness. You stated that typically we would not include those public comments in our meeting minutes.
So generally, in terms of public comments, usually the way our minutes read are, public comment was received from John Doe, 112 South Superior Street, or something like that. And that's usually the extent of our public comment. I think that's how we've done things as long as I can remember. I think for purposes of a written comment, probably the way it should read is, and we would keep with precedent, is say, written comment was received by the city and presented to council from Joe Blow, 134 South Cass Street, or something like that.
Thank
Is
you.
what I would suggest.
Mayor Pro Tem, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted him to go to Rule 9, it's on page 11. 9, public participation, and that was G, we talked about written communication. This is basically what you were just talking about? Yeah, correct. So,
Yeah, so I mean, if council was going to add that language about handling written communication, obviously that would be the place to insert it, is sub-rule G. And the other thing that, just so council's aware, the way that the rules were structured when they were crafted, they're set up, in terms of modifying them, they're set up almost like an ordinance in that they have to, except they have to be amended by resolution, but you can't do it, normally when we do a resolution is presented and you vote on it, but with our council rules, in terms of amending them, they specifically state that you have to basically bring it on for quote-unquote introduction, which for our purposes would be a discussion, and then voted on at a subsequent meeting. So just so you're aware of that very unique procedure.
through ordinance, resolutions, and motions.
It's Rule 20, I was just pointing, it's not an ordinance, it's just, it's set
That's
up
what I'm saying,
like
but
an
that's usually
ordinance.
how it's
Yeah.
supposed to be, yes, how we're
Yeah.
supposed to change it though.
Right.
Correct.
Just a quick question too. For the first addition that you're looking to add, what section would that fall under?
The one where we talked about information being obtained.
Yeah.
Let me just pull up my email to Councilwoman Lanou, because I think what I suggested is,
What we was just talking about.
I thought you said it was under public participation.
yeah, I think
Is that-
I said put it under I thought it made the most sense under public participation.
Okay.
So then when the other boards and commissions fall in line with these, because the boards and commissions have a spot on the agenda for written communication, and they typically read them out loud.
And yeah, that's what I shared with you before the meeting. So at the public, at the planning commission meeting, I know Chair Strander, they're on their agenda, it's written correspondence.
Well, these are our rules of procedure,
Okay.
not the planning commission, and we don't have, as far as I'm aware, the authority to impose rules of procedure on a sub-body.
Gotcha. Okay.
Usually they adopt their own rules of procedure.
Okay.
So I guess what I can say is, I will work on wordsmithing, kind of a red line change to the rules to have to present to council at the next meeting for discussion/introduction, if that works,
Yes.
unless anybody has questions or additional
Those two.
suggestions.
That works.
Any other questions, comments?
That was all I have.
And just for clarification, so just the sharing of information, the only reason it would be, let's say, if it was released prior to a meeting or a notice of a public is if we received a FOIA request and we were responding within that allotted time.
So I mean, I put in, there's probably a handful of scenarios where it could potentially, there could be a legal obligation that it would have to come out early. One would be FOIA, another would be pursuant to a subpoena for some reason.
Is it? Okay. Sorry.
So, things like that. If there's a state law or like a subpoena that somehow mandates early release, I mean, there's nothing we can do about that. That's, I mean, we're subject to that. But otherwise, yeah, it would have to only come out at those public packet, public meeting, public hearing, things like that.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All right, we do have time for public comments.
I think we have one more.
Oh, I'm sorry. Further coaching, team development.
This was also a discussion I asked for at the end of our last meeting. At that time, I didn't know that we weren't continuing with the coach because I thought we were going to be doing work with the department heads. But I was glad when I did have a chance to speak with City Manager Snyder that we both agreed that we would be ending the coaching, the formal coaching that we were paying for, and then considering options that we have before us that either were no cost or much more cost effective for us. So she compiled a number of resources. Do you want to share
Yeah.
those?
So Councilmember Lou and I, we had a chance to meet to discuss this a little bit further last Wednesday. In reviewing how much, Director Meady provided us with year-to-date revenue and expenditure report on trainings for council. And to date, we have spent $11,503.60. That does include the Capital Conference training that 4 members of council attended, as well as the training sessions with the coach that we obtained through MML. And just to share what we have budgeted for this year was $5,000. So you can see we have well exceeded that budgeted amount for training. So you will expect to have a budget amendment come before you for approval so that we can get funds moved over to kind of balance that out. So in talking with Councilmember Lanu, we've done a little research and I provided with you kind of a breakdown on different trainings that we could do possibly in-house. We already have a legal attorney on retainer with the Harkness attorney firm. We also have an assistant city attorney, so we could ask that Lars maybe come in to review some of the topics that I have included in training suggestions, just trying to be fiscally responsible and still provide you with the different training and educational sessions that you have requested. In addition to that, I've provided a few other trainings that are available through the MML. I would suggest all of you look at the Elected Officials Academy. This is something that you can enroll in on your own to, I believe there's 3 or 4 levels that you can receive accreditation through the MML. So I would strongly encourage you to look into this if this is something you are interested in. In addition, there are other just different training and information that we pulled from the MMLs just to provide that to you as a resource. But at this point, I would suggest or encourage that we are fiscally responsible and come up with other ways that we can still provide the additional training that you're looking to obtain.
So, City Manager Snyder, did they receive the training suggestions as well?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to offer, I think that in terms of this list, number one, the department heads' roles and responsibilities would be awesome for us to be able to like more deeply understand and be able to convey that to residents. And then I know the number 10, property taxes, the Headley rollback and Headley override. That's a concern that I hear quite a bit in terms of the redevelopment process and the investments that are happening, understanding the constraints, but also what options are available if even the tax increase that is happening is too much for people. Revenue sharing, just looking over this, I learned a lot. And then, so that's number 13, and then number 15, the RRC best practices, I think would also really, really help us to understand how great it is that we are a certified redevelopment-ready community, and then as a council, what we can do to support the staff who are working toward the redevelopment.
Absolutely. I think all of the items that have been provided on the training suggestions, they're great topics that we revisit or go over as a group. And we could do these whether 30 minutes prior to our regular meeting, similar to what we're doing right now in the study session. We can kind of maybe pick one of these topics, and that will be what we cover in that 30-minute time period. If you feel that we need additional time, we can obviously expand that to a full hour. But I will now just turn this over to council. If you have one that you would like for us to schedule in the future, please let me know. I'm happy to gather any additional information, make sure that the proper department heads or other individuals are here to speak on some and share more on that information.
Any questions or comments?
Well done.
All right. Public comment. So at this point, if there's anybody in the gallery that would like to stand, we just ask that you state your name, address, and you have 30 minutes.
The opportunity. Handle that, absolutely. Madam Mayor, council members, City Manager Snyder, Clerk Domingo, residents of the City of Albion, and folks watching this evening, good evening. Gary Tompkins, your County Commissioner. It's great to see you folks. It's been a while, it seems like, huh? Since we've had a chance to see you. I'll be real brief this evening. Next Tuesday is our county's only one county meeting this month. County Board of Commissioners meetings for our annual reapportionment meeting, where we get a chance to take a look at and see what we got in terms of taxable value in terms of county. You'll be able to see that on my newsletters. I'll break it down by individual municipality and by township, so you can kind of see exactly where everybody's at. What we've been seeing over the past few years is slightly uprising, which has always been good in terms of taxable value, which always helps us, so stay tuned for that going forward. All right, I got to talk about roads, because you guys know I love that, right? And I just want to tell you, I do applaud you folks for just trying to find solutions to deal with the issue, because obviously, as I pointed out in my newsletter this month, our state simply doesn't continue to get the bill. Recent supplemental funding, Senate Bill 565 that released $4.7 billion of additional funding. Of that, only $79.2 million, or 1.67% of that, was for roads. And when you look at that, when you divide it by 83 counties and 500 plus municipalities, tell me how much actually mileage you're going to get out of that in terms of being able to pave. Anything for that matter. And then to make it, they added another link where actually that $79 million was only going to be available for federally aid roads. So many of us, we all drive on many, many local streets and local roads. So it's $0 of that $79 million. So I just like to know when, in fact, they're actually going to take an opportunity to really look at the problem. Because one of the things I included on my newsletter is you can see the MDOT here has only 8% of the roads, but they have 39% of the funding. County roads, we only have 75% of the roads, and we only have 39% of the funding. That in itself will never get you where you need to be. And even your municipalities are not getting the funding you need. So again, we've got to do something different. 70 years of it. So I will continue my fight on that. You guys know where I stand on that, and I will continue that process. Real quickly, county senior services. We had our annual demographics report for the year, and I'm proud to announce that the 7th district is #1 in terms of the amount of seniors that are taking advantage of our senior services. As far as the municipality, the City of Albion's 34.8% is the largest municipality usage, which is a good thing. And then your neighbor just to the south, Albion Township, 71% of their seniors take advantage of the senior citizen senior programs. Again, what I say is a lot of folks, I tell people don't shy away from the opportunity. If many of you pay property taxes, you're actually paying for this anyway. Take advantage of those services that are available, and we'll continue to put that out there. And then finally, real quickly, let's see, real quick. Recycling's on the forefront because now it's springtime, obviously, and I can include a couple in my newsletter, a couple of upcoming recycling events for electronics and scrap metal collection in April, which will be in Battle Creek on April 14th, as well as household hazardous waste collection, which will also be in Battle Creek. But rest assured, they will be coming to the east side. One of the things I've worked with the recycling committee is to make sure that we get more events here on this side of the county so that we can take care of what we need to. So that's just real brief. I'm just glad to be back with you folks. If you guys ever need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, all right? Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Appreciate that.
And just to follow up on that report that he shared regarding senior services, Helen Guzzo, the director of the county senior services office, she will be coming to do a presentation to the council at our next regular council meeting. She was unable to attend tonight's meeting. She had another scheduling conflict doing the same thing with another municipality. So you will receive a full-blown presentation on where those senior services tax dollars went to. And like Commissioner Tompkins said, Albion is the #1 when using those funds, which is very exciting to hear.
Anybody else like to stand and address the council? Oh, do you have anybody on? All right. We're going to hold our manager's report until actual council meeting.
Yep, it's a long one. So we will-
So I have a motion to adjourn our study session.
So moved.
Support.
City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Reed,
Here.
Jackson,
Yes.
Lawler, Lanu,
Yes.
Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Meeting adjourned 6:55 PM, and we will return in 5 minutes for our regular council meeting.